Still in Chapter 2, a few keywords that I want you to be aware of, such as project phase, I should define a little bit more for you. So on page 26 of this book, it says a project phase is a logical segmentation or grouping of work on a project in order to effectively plan, manage, and control the completion of a key deliverable. For example, design phase, testing phase, and implementation phase. A phase should have an exit point of formal review, referred to as phase exit, phase gates, toll gates, decision gates, stage gates, milestones, or kill points. So in essence, each of the phases in a project lifecycle should have a point in which they are reviewed for completeness and possibly correctness to ensure that the final deliverable from that phase is indeed complete before moving to the next phase. So that's about phases. Let's talk a little bit about stakeholders. You might hear the term stakeholder in project management. A stakeholder refers to anyone that your project could affect, or anyone that could affect your project. Anyone at all. Team members, project sponsors who are responsible for the finances being available for the project. Also managers, operational managers, functional managers, sellers, business partners, end users, performing organizations. All of those folks, they are stakeholders. Portfolio manager, portfolio review board, and the list goes on. Just think about it. Anyone that your project could affect. For example, your project is a software project. Who are the end users of that software? They're stakeholders. Who is the main customer? Who is paying for that project? The customer. That person is a stakeholder, or that group, or that department. They're stakeholders. So think wide. When you think about who your project could affect, or who could be affected by your project, think about the term stakeholders.
A stakeholder refers to any individual or organization actively involved in the project or whose interests may be affected by project results. The stakeholder can exert positive or negative influence on the project. You definitely need to be aware of who is on your side on the project and who is not, because you've got negative stakeholders who could be really nasty on the project, trying to make it fail, and then you've got stakeholders who want it to succeed. You've got stakeholders who are really out to make your project fail because they could end up losing their job if your project succeeded. Kind of like automating type software. Nobody wants to lose a job, so you probably hope that that project fails. That's an example of a negative stakeholder. The project team needs to identify both internal and external stakeholders to determine and consider requirements and expectations. Now, stakeholders could include the project initiator or sponsor, the project manager, the customer, the end user, performing organization, project team members, PMO, general, public, or society. Now that fellow looks extremely happy, jolly old fellow there. If only all our stakeholders were as happy as that. But in reality, we know that's not the case. If you're a project manager, you know you're going to have lots of people who are frowning and really mad at your project. Stakeholder identification is a very important step in project management. It's a continuous process. If you don't identify who these people are, it could come back to hurt you on the project because you could have positive and negative stakeholders. It's important to understand the dynamic or the interest of positive and negative stakeholders in your project. Now look at that fellow with the hammer. Doesn't he look really happy with that hammer? Kind of threatening you, he's going to use it on your head. The project manager needs to be careful with those negative ones. I know it's not that extreme in the real world, but we do have people that are extremely negative. So be aware of your stakeholders, positive versus negative. Here's our customer, giving you the thumbs up. That is the person or the organization that will use the product or service. Customers or users can be internal or external to the performing organizations. So the project initiator or sponsor provides financial resources for the project, authorizes and champions the project, plays a key role in the development of initial scope and the project charter. this person usually serves as an escalation point for the project manager. So if there's anything going wrong on the project manager could escalate to the project sponsor. Then we've got the portfolio manager. We've talked about the portfolio manager, responsible for the high-level oversight of the projects or programs. That portfolio manager could be part of what we call a portfolio review board. The portfolio review board consists of executives who are part of the project selection panel. They review details to determine the value of the project, they review the risks associated with the project, and they determine if the project should be authorized or not. Then we've got the program manager, talking about the interrelated projects managed in a coordinated way to obtain benefits and control, blah, blah, blah. We talked about this in Module 1. That's your program manager, responsible for managing these interrelated projects, responsible for the collective success of all projects. That person is definitely a key person in your stakeholder pool. And then talking about the PMO, Project Management Office. The PMO could be a stakeholder. The PMO refers to a central unit within the organization, and we talked about these people. The role of the PMO is advisory, mentoring, and training. These are the people that provide you the templates and the tools that you use to manage the project. Then we've got our favorite person, project manager. This fellow's on the phone. Most project managers spend 90% of their time communicating. You're probably like 90% of the time? Yeah, communication could be face-to-face, it could be email, it could be push and pull technologies, such as putting the information onto SharePoint or pulling the information. It could be anything. But your project manager is definitely the main guy when it comes to communications. The project manager manages the project and accomplishes the project deliverables with the help of the team. The project manager needs to understand project detail from a higher level than people performing the actual detailed work in each step. The project manager needs to communicate with all stakeholders and needs to manage stakeholder requirements and expectations, which is a big one. Now, I want to point out the difference, if you could follow me to the whiteboard here and look at the difference between the project team and the project management team. You know, when you hear the term management as a clue, whether you're talking about the project management life cycle or you're talking about the project management team, when you hear the term management, it refers to managing the project as opposed to the work being done functionally. So, talking about the project team, let's say we have project team. Here. That's your project team in that round circle there. Now, your project team, if you look at the slide here, is made up of the project manager, project management team, and other team members. So really, when you look at the breakdown, you could have the project team being that circle, and within that, you have the project management team. Now, the project management team are the people working on project controls, working on getting the work done in an orderly fashion, following the principles of project management and so on. They are different from the project team. Project team is all-inclusive. In the project team, you could have other people. You know, stakeholders is an umbrella term for everyone working on the project who can be impacted in one way or the other. We could refer to those as stakeholders. But your project team could have a subset of the project management team and also lots of other people. We can talk about other actors who are really stakeholders. So that's your project team, comprises of your stakeholders, your project management team, and so on. So moving back to the slide here, let's look at the definition in the PMBOK guide. The project team is made of the project manager, project management team, other team members who are assigned to work on the project but are not involved in the management of the project. They assist the project manager on the project. Functional managers provide the resources to get the work done. Functional managers serve key management roles in the organization, providing staff oversight. They may have staff assigned to the project, or they may be providing subject matter expertise. Project stakeholders, operations managers. Operations managers serve key management roles within a core business of the organization. They produce and maintain the products and services. They are responsible to accept project handoffs and provide ongoing support. So when you hear the term operations, think about ongoing support, maintaining that transition. Sellers and business partners are also stakeholders. These could include vendors, suppliers, or contractors.